Hello, thank you for joining today's tech break from Index Engines. Today's topic is how to reclaim storage capacity and budget. We're going to do a quick 15-minute session that includes some slides and a demonstration. My name is Jim McGann. I'm VP of Marketing here at Index Engines, and I'll be your presenter. I'll be joined today by Greg Jorgensen, who's our solutions architect here, who's going to take you through a product demonstration. We're talking about profiling of unstructured data today. Unstructured data is a big capacity hog out on your networks and servers and even your legacy backup tapes. So data profiling can be performed across networks, desktops, even legacy environments or backup environments, backup the disk or backup the tape. So a lot of the organizations we deal with, when you're managing storage, they go, I'm being forced to upgrade storage or save stuff out at Iron Mountain, or there are all sorts of different places where data can hide. And I know a lot of it doesn't have any value or any use, but I can't really separate the good versus the bad. So this is a sample project we did with 10 terabytes of data. It's a small environment where we had different profiles or classifications set up, looking at duplicate data, looking at where the large files are, looking for patterns like PII, which includes Social Security numbers and credit card numbers, looking for multimedia data like movies, videos, iTunes libraries, looking for PSTs and mail, and then looking for things like abandoned data, stuff that hasn't been modified in more than 5 years, stuff that hasn't been accessed in more than 5 years. And in this environment is about 10 terabytes of data. Those about 73 million files. You can see here that about 34% of that stuff was redundant or duplicate content. 11% was large files. So this could be, if large files aren't really, common for your business, you may want to look at those and say, hey, show me all the large files that have been accessed in 5 years. They're taking up a lot of storage space. Looking for sensitive content that would have Social Security numbers and credit card numbers. Here is usually a small number. We typically see a couple percentage points there. Looking for multimedia data, email and PSTs. In this case, it was about 15,000 either email messages or PSTs that exist out there. And then looking for the data that's either abandoned, that hasn't been modified or accessed. And that usually represents a significant portion of what you have out there on your servers. So here you can see about upwards of 60 to 70% of the data is really that aged out or abandoned content. So having that view into your server environment, your network environment, even your legacy backup environment, allows you to really make management decisions of the content. So our product is called Catalyst. It's a data profiling and disposition engine. It comes in two flavors, either a VMware version or an appliance. Integrates in the storage environment is different from your security assessment or your SRM or capacity planning tools, and then it gets down to a file level for profiling. And it maintains an index of that unstructured content. Again, as I mentioned, it could access all sources from primary storage to your secondary storage environment, as well as your legacy backup tapes. It's designed for the enterprise, cost-effective, easy to deploy and implement. The performance has always been an issue. People are concerned about it, but we've taken into account a number of things to be able to throttle bandwidth and allow you to really control that so it doesn't impact your network speeds and so on. So we support NFS or SIS crawling as well as NDMP. If it's an NDMP-enabled server, we'll be able to crawl and index all the common unstructured files as well as email. In terms of profiling, you can do either a light profile, which is really just metadata only, dates, owners, locations, things like that, or you can do a full profile, which includes the full text content. So if you need to find things like PII or keywords, you would need to do a full content. A very unique differentiator from the Catalyst product is that it integrates to Active Directory. So by integrating with Active Directory, you can look at the user and group information that's inside Active Directory to make profiles and reports. So you can look at things like active users versus inactive users. So when an employee leaves the organization and becomes an inactive user, you can find show me all data owned by inactive users or ex-employees. Or you can summarize data by groups and departments, say show me all the data owned by our HR department that hasn't been accessed in 7 years and so on. So you can also query by ACLs as well to determine read, write, and browse permissions. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you can summarize and report on the data. So right before we do a demonstration, I'm going to talk about some of the classification policies. Greg's going to show us how we can get reports on this stuff. But for going from unknown data to really classifying it and say, hey, what exists out there, you can create reports and customize this any which way you like. So abandoned data is data owned by X employees. So again, I mentioned the integration with Active Directory here that has no access in X years, 3 years, for example. Or age data, just data that's owned by current employees but has no access in 3 years. Duplicate or redundant data, personal data like multimedia file like iTunes libraries, risk-based data, which could be sensitive content, or content required by your legal or compliance teams for e-discovery, for example. Data that should be an archive data that has business value, or just monitoring data in place and active data to determine future disposition of the content. So lots of flexibility here. And what I want to do is turn it over to Greg so he can do a quick demonstration of the product.
Thanks, Jim. First thing I want to show you is a few different ways to search index engines. So the first way here is after an index job is completed and you're in the search interface, one of the very first ways a lot of our clients start is by narrowing their scope down. So in this particular demo server, there's a host of servers that were indexed to date. So finding the server or set of servers or environment that you want to profile and selecting that. So here I'm going to go and select a group of departmental shares on this 137 server. And I'm going to show you some of the other ways that you could build in filters. So if I go to our filters tab, we have options to filter by file level properties. Those are the metadata attributes on the file level. Metadata attributes from a document level, from an email level, like your to, your from, your CC, as well as backup properties if you're indexing backup tape data that's in backup formats or disk-to-disk backups. So let's say if I go to the file level properties, I'm going to scroll down. As you see here, there's some ACL filters too, since we tie into Active Directory. You could search by usernames and user groups that have read, write, and browsable access to certain data sets and see what those data sets are and create reports. I'm going to scroll down here to our file type filters, and I'm going to just look for audio-video files on this particular 137 server that I just selected. So here I selected my filter criteria on a file level metadata. I have my search narrowed down to a set of directories on this 137 server. And I want to select my deduplication filter. So we can index data and present it to the user in the GUI in a couple different views. So your unique view is going to deduplicate data using an MD5 hash value. That's one of the many options that we offer for deduplication methods. And that's going to present to you unique data. You have an option here to show only duplicative data and create a set of reports that report on all the duplicative files in the environment. For right now, I'm going to select all. It's going to show all unique and duplicative data. So I go and run that search. It's going to open my set of summary reports. These are a set of baseline reports, and they're interactive as well. So you have your access time report, files by extension, by file type, by location. So here I selected a few locations. It's going to show me the breakdown of data at those locations. There's a modified time report showing you different modified times, owner report. You also have a size report, and you can sort by sizes. So if I go back to, let's say, my owner report, I want to do a cull from here. So I'm looking at files on a specific directory level. I'm looking at certain filters, so I'm looking for audio-video files. And let's say I want to narrow it down to a few of my owners of data, just to these 3 particular owners. The interactive reports are a few clicks, so it's just clicking on the categories that I want to look at, hitting search. It's going to update my report. As you see, now I'm only looking at those 3 owners. So from here, I can go over, let's say, to file sizes. Again, I could sort here, and let's say I want to narrow down to just a few of the larger file sizes. So I first narrow down by owner. Secondly here, narrowing down by size. Again, I could refresh that report. Now let's say I want to go look for my abandoned data, older data that hasn't been touched in a while. From this particular drill down query, I see a majority of this data here, 91%, hasn't been modified in less than 5 years. So I want to select that category. Again, refresh my set of reports here. I can now go over to the results tab. I can look at the files that met my search criteria that were on the server that I located and selected, that were culled down by the sizes I selected, and then thirdly were owned by the owners that I selected. So 3 levels of interactive culling through the reports. Now I can go and select these files and take certain disposition actions against them. I could delete them from primary storage with the defensible deletion option that's fully audited with an audit trail. I could copy the data, so I could do a ACL copy that maintains ACLs, so I can move it from its source destination to a new destination, keeping all of the access controls. I could rename owners. So this is a great feature. We have a lot of clients that have a majority of their data owned by admin from past copy tools that spoliated that owner field. So within our tool, there's a way to look at certain metadata properties and reassign the owner to the appropriate business division or user group in the environment. And thirdly, you can go and take this data and put it into an archive. Index Engines offers an archive that you can directly feed, as well as we can do a copy of this data to disk to ingest it by your existing archive if that's an option for you. Thanks, Jim. Pass this back over to you.
Thanks, Greg, for the quick demo. All right, switch it back over. Okay, so some sample workflows that we typically see is obviously age data cleanup is really popular. A lot of the stuff just ages out in the network and sits there and becomes abandoned. Data tiering, so if you have some cloud on-ramping projects to figure out what you need to move out to the cloud, maybe any data that hasn't been touched in 3 years, move it out to the cloud for cheaper storage, or archiving on-ramping, as Greg was mentioning. You want to get data business value of the archive. You can use it for that. Finding large multimedia files. We get a lot of requests from people looking for iTunes libraries or movie files and personal picture files. Security audits like PII, PST management, finding email loose on the network. Storage capacity allocations and chargebacks, data center migration and consolidation. With those projects, you can clean stuff up before it gets migrated or consolidated. So instead of spending time moving data that has no value, you can move the data that's really important. And technology refresh audits and so on. So some of the best practices is, data profiling has lots of different value and lots of different use cases across the data center. So start small. Look at things like user share, stuff that's really kind of unmanaged, out of control growth. Look at servers that are requiring capacity upgrades. So instead of buying more storage, before you do that, figure out what you have. And monitor usage growth by department by, finding your big data hogs and managing that content accordingly. If you're working with your legal, compliance, or records management teams, this is a great communication tool so you can really understand what exists and what you have and manage the policy or develop data policies that make more sense for the organization. And chargebacks is a great way to work with your different departments and divisions and teams to be able to profile the data and deliver a view into the content so they can make decisions and control expenses and really kind of manage what no longer has no value. So finally, next steps, request a white paper. We've got a couple good white papers that talk about leveraging data profiling to support disposition, really some good ROI tools. We can perform a deeper dive technical demonstration. We can schedule a sample eval using our VMware version. Reach out to me. My email address is on there, jim.mcgann@IndexEngines. We'll be happy to coordinate whatever makes sense for you to really understand data profiling and how it can help you and your organization. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Greg, for the demonstration, and we look forward to working with you.